1933 wasn't a happy year for Hungary. The difficult financial situation, the contrast between the visible brilliance of the capital and the outright poverty of the province, all this looked desperate and sad. It was especially sad for the little-known composer and pianist, the author of a number of songs that sometimes got into radio broadcasts, Seress. There before him lay the manuscript of a poem by his friend, the journalist and poet Laszlo Javor. It was Gloomy Sunday. The melody was ready. It was written back in Paris, during his short stay there. After hearing the new song, Javor said, "This poem is no good, I'll write another one for you." The melody was written spontaneously. Seress didn't even need to think, he only had to write it down. He was 34 years old, he lived most of his life in poverty, and his life was empty and unhappy. The melody was sad, as one would expect. That's natural. The original text was about a young man who was rejected by the lady of his heart when he was waiting for her at the altar decorated with 100 white roses. The young man was determined to commit suicide. Did Seress know what impact would his song have on suicidal people? Seress later became known in Europe under the name of Rudi Spitzer. The name, rewritten in a German way, was easier to pronounce. He was born in Budapest on November 3, 1899. Exactly under the Jewish name Spitzer. But he rarely used it because of anti-Semitic attitudes in society. Independently, with only books and sheet music collections, he learned musical notation, solfeggio, and playing the piano. The legend says that he played with 2 fingers and didn't know the notes, but that's not true. Seress was a good musician. Without reading music, he would hardly have been able to work in different restaurants, where he often had to play ordered melodies. However, there were some peculiarities about his style. You will learn about them below. He began to work in restaurants and earn some money. Sometimes his songs were played on the radio, but in general, he didn't have much success. However, the song One More Night, written by him in 1925, was recorded on records, and its notes were sold out well in music stores. Since the beginning of the 1930s, Seress worked in the Kispipa pipe restaurant in Budapest. This restaurant still exists and offers traditional Hungarian cuisine. Its current owners are proud that Seress once played here. Gloomy Sunday is played in the restaurant every day, every single day. However, Gloomy Sunday was not written in Kispipa, but in Paris, where Seress unsuccessfully tried to find work in 1933. It was first played at another restaurant, Kulak's. It's just that Kispipa was his fixed place of work, and it was there that Seress played his famous song several hundred times. Let's add a few more words about the author of the poem Summaries. Laszlo Javor worked as a journalist in the Budapest newspaper 8 o'clock morning news. He was in love, unhappily, with someone else's wife. He drank much and didn't have a penny. What other words could be born in his head? But why has Gloomy Sunday become so popular? In 1935, the song was first heard on Budapest radio. On the same day, a spate of suicides hit Budapest, and the police reported that almost all suicides occurred at the very time when Gloomy Sunday sounded on the radios. Many cases are documented, and their summaries are still kept. Every time Gloomy Sunday was played on the radio, there were spontaneous suicides. The statistics didn't lie. By 1936, Hungarian radio was completely banned from playing Seress's song. By that time, Pál Kalmár, Pyotr Leszchenko, and Paul Robeson had recorded their versions, and the song went on to travel the world. Gradually it was banned everywhere, in the USA, in France. Everywhere it sounded, there was a wave of suicides, and that's not a creepy fairy tale. Seress was a genius, and he most likely caught the very note of the absolute melody, which pushed suicidal people to take their last step. Besides, the newspapers contributed significantly to the spread of rumors about the melody. The song was translated into dozens of world languages, including Icelandic, Chinese, Swahili, and Esperanto. It was recorded and performed by the world's most famous musicians, both during Seress's lifetime and after his death. The first was Pál Kalmár, the Hungarian king of the tango. He was followed by Pyotr Leszchenko, Paul Whiteman, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Ray Charles, and Björk, a total of 60 names from 1935 to 2009. Gloomy Sunday was last covered in 2009 by Elijah Hussein. In 2006 alone, 6 covers of the famous song were released. Subsequently, Sigmund Freud used the terrible facts associated with Gloomy Sunday to confirm some of his ideas in articles and publications. In 1999, director Rolf Schubel made his famous Gloomy Sunday, a song of love and death, based on this song. It is a well-acted German drama about love, death, and the grace moments that make life worth the wear of living. Here is an excerpt from this movie, the one where the song is sung. However, the song runs throughout the film.
Szomorú vasárnap 100 fehér virággal, vártalak, kedvesem, templomi imával. Álmokat kergető vasárnap délelőtt, bánatom hintaja nélküled visszajött. Nekem játsz. Azóta szomorú mindig a vasárnap, könny csak az italom, kenyerem a bánat. Szomorú vasárnap, utolsó vasárnap, kedvesem, gyere el. Pap is lesz, koporsó, ravatal gyászlepel. Akkor is mi ránk vár virág és koporsó, virágos fák alatt utam az utolsó. Nyitva lesz szemem, hogy még egyszer lássalak. Ne félj a szememtől, holtan is általak. Utolsó vasárnap.
The song has also been featured in many other movies, for example, in Silent Hill. Seress was afraid of traveling. Throughout his life, he almost did not leave Budapest. Twice he tried to move to Paris, but to no avail. He was a little chubby and small in stature. His friends loved him for his great sense of humor. He knew many anecdotes and funny songs and was a darling of the audience. Oddly enough, he played mainly with his right hand. He had some problems with his left hand, either related to nerves or to joints, the result of an injury that he got while working in a circus in his youth. He used it only for bases. To somehow compensate for his disability, he mastered several tricks. For example, while playing, he rotated a small hoop with his left hand. Eventually, when he became famous, many musicians from other countries who covered Gloomy Sunday came to meet him. Only then did he begin to actively train his left hand to show that he was a pianist and not a clown.